So Catbird makes a software-defined security product for hybrid IT infrastructure. Very specifically, we make security controls that live within the virtual fabric. It works both with VMware and OpenStack. And it's kind of a cool, fun area to be in right now. I'm sure you guys hear a lot about security and stuff like that. So you get to hear a bit more today, though, about how our line of work led into working with the Reduxio team and how it's sped up a number of our operations, specifically from a development standpoint.
So from the onset to this, we actually were running a hybrid situation before, or storage. As we moved into using the Reduxio, we actually use two of the Reduxio shelves, the HX550s. Our bigger problem that we had, at least going into this, was that we run a nested environment for our testing. So when we would deploy the OpenStack clouds, we would actually have to allot a very large Cinder volumes at the upper end, so those second order instances would have the space available. So as we met with Reduxio and told them where our problems were, Jacob committed to giving us a Cinder plugin. Now we are able to very much those second order VMs or the second order clouds that we're actually running nested, we're able to actually build or directly attach the Cinder from the secondary or second order clouds to be able to do our testing. So, as everybody knows, there's 600 ways to do anything in OpenStack. And so as we test our product, we actually lay out a number of those to test side by side. One of the larger benefits that we came by actually attaching these volumes within or straight from those second order VMs is that we were able to use the backdating feature. So we can spin up an entire catalog of all that we do, run through the tests. When we're done with the tests, we are able to revert those volumes back to that golden image again, saving a great deal of time. So we're not actually relaunching, we're not doing anything, we're leaving them live and spinning them back. Also helps from a development standpoint when there are small changes that need to be made in the code to immediately flip those right back and test exactly the pieces that were changed.
A lot of it had to do with speed. Are we allowed to mention competing products? I'll hold off on that. We'll do it. So we're transitioning away from a product I'm sure you guys are all well aware of, and the act of stamping out these large environments for our developers for the sake of coding, for the sake of doing QA, and for the sake of doing scale testing was beyond painful. And so, one of the tests that we really put this through is the real life tests. I need to stamp out 200 nested, virtual hosts, 5,000 VMs, things in that order of magnitude, and those would be measured in the matter of many minutes. And we've now gotten that exercise down into, being measured in the seconds, both from the creation of these environments and also the deletion of them. So I think the speed was the biggest thing. There's a number of other benefits too, but I'd like to say that's the biggest one.
We actually have been in OpenStack for a couple of years, so we'd actually experienced a number of the pain points that came from the other vendors. However, we've actually been using the new Cinder plugin roughly 45 days, 40 days, and have been absolutely thrilled with it. We have had no problems at all. In fact, the speed in which we're able to stamp out these additional volumes is just beyond measure. As Holland mentioned, we were in high teens in minutes, and we are now both in the creation of volumes and the deletion in volumes to somewhere right around 1 second, depending on the size of the volume. So it very impressive. Speed is very, very much so, but also the backdating has been an incredible benefit to us and to our developers and our testers.
How often are y'all using the backdating feature? Is that a daily thing?
It would be many times daily.
So you're using it a lot.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we open it up for questions?
I think I'd be remiss not to mention that the Reduxio boxes are relatively easy on the pocketbook too, and that was definitely one of our considerations. Many competing solutions were, we'll say, a bit more expensive. So we're a young startup, venture backed, and we don't have the deepest pockets. So that was another important data point to us making the decision.
So we were talking earlier in some of the questions before. The other thing is the during the evaluation phase, we had done a number of the tests, and as part of that, we had intentionally done a failover from active to passive, and we had done it out of we had done it ourselves, and it was less than, I would say, probably 45 to 50 seconds before the Reduxio staff was calling us, asking us what we had done. And so the monitoring of the box is just incredibly good. Holland had talked about another opportunity we had to experience that, where our data center, the cooling over a weekend had gone out. None of the other alarms had gone off. However, the Reduxio guys called us on the phone saying, you might want to check this, that the heat in the box is starting to rise very rapidly. And so again, the support has been fantastic.
I will briefly riff on that topic too, in saying that the people for us make a big difference. We had some pretty strong demands up front, and going to a big giant multi-billion-dollar company with feature requests, we all know how that story ends. It's usually not in happiness. So the fact that we can call up Jacob and the team and say, hey, we're struggling with this, what can you do? And they come to us a solution in the matter of weeks is really, really impressive. We're a small company too. We have to have that same response, but it's great to have that relationship, because we need to move fast, and they've been moving fast with us.
Okay, great.
On those that we're rolling back, we're roughly, some of them are 400 gig. Some of them actually, I guess they range between 400 and 800 gig on each of these nested ones that we're rolling back and forth.
What would be a high water mark?
Probably the highest watermark we've got would be probably 2.2 terabytes, I think is the... Actually, to roll them back, roughly 2 seconds. 2.5 seconds.
Just off.
So our solution is a security appliance that lives amongst other virtual machines. Typically the appliances live in user space, and so what we're doing is enforcing boundaries around logical groupings of VMs. Some of you might have heard the buzzword microsegmentation. And we're doing things like IDS, IPS, and vulnerability scans and things like that. And so you can imagine some of our customer environments are quite huge. So instead of us going out and investing in thousands of bare metal blades to do this testing to simulate their environment, we're virtualizing the hypervisors. So we can, on a single blade, be running many dozen hypervisors, potentially in many thousand VMs, across a cluster. And so that's a whole reason we need speed, because we're simulating all of this stuff, and we have one of the largest telcos is our customer, for instance, and they've got a giant environment, and we frequently are having to scenario test not just what they have now, but where they think they're going to go tomorrow, and random little configuration things, troubleshooting when we find errors and things like that. So when Shane said we're using the backdating thing and tearing things up and down constantly, that's exactly why. What happens if scenario where there's like a ton more traffic coming in or things like that, or a bunch of VMs spin up at the same time. We kind of go through the scenarios and make sure that we don't fall down before putting it into production.
A little bit of both. So when we first came to it, we started very much in the UI and the configuration that way, and as we started to feel a little more comfortable, command line became more of the day-to-day. And as things evolve, I'm sure it will get to the point where Well, I don't know. The UI has some huge benefits that, from a visualization standpoint, that I don't know that we could ever do without. But for the most part, yes, we believe in full API or full command line orchestration. So that'll probably be where we land completely.
I will say when we first lit up the box, there was some oohs and ahs in the room, and it was definitely one of the things that hooked us into, have the consideration for using them be greater.